Hi everyone, it is August 7, 2019. Death camps for Trump supporters now. Wow. Patchogue, New York, flyers going up, street posts, parking meters. It's Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. Death camps for Trump supporters now. We are living, well, I'll speak for myself. I am living something that I could never have imagined living, not in this country, not too long ago. But our country is no longer the country that we believe it is. We need people to step out of the matrix, but we also need people to step out of their delusion. Tyranny is not coming. It is here. The tentacles have spread far, and those tentacles are just digging deeper and deeper every single day, cementing itself now. But what we are living is something... Well, I'm going to play a little bit of a video that was sent along to me by a subscriber whom I'd like to thank. But before I get into that, this flyer going up at the same time, pretty boy CNN host calls for the eradication of Kellyanne Conway and Trump supporters. Wow. Doesn't get fired. He tweets this, which is, well, one would have to have some pretty good argument to claim that this is not hate speech. Twitter doesn't feel it violates their rules. This guy, Reza Aslan, I don't know how to pronounce his name, this is what he writes in a tweet. After today, there is no longer any room for nuance. Wow. Black and white thinking, that's it. You are either against Trump supporters and you want them dead, or you are one. The president is a white nationalist terror leader. His supporters, all of them, yes, capital letters, all of you who support Trump are by definition white nationalist terror supporters. The MAGA hat is a KKK hood, and this evil racist scourge must be eradicated from society. Wow. And he doesn't make any apologies. Okay, if Americans cannot see something wrong with this, that mainstream media, CNN host, no matter how pretty this boy is, a face a mother could love, this is evil right here. You're looking at it, and that's why a lot of Americans cannot perceive what evil really looks like, because, well, we're rather superficial, and we look at the face and, oh wow, his teeth are great, and that's a great smile, and look at those eyes. Yeah, a face a mother could love. That's all I care about. Did you hear what this man said? This is not a good man. Trump supporters, you are all racist scourge. Okay, so we are living what once was unimaginable. There's a reason for this. This is deliberate. This is the social engineering of the American people to get them to hate one another, whether it's based on the color of their skin or the party they're aligned with. Now, there's a reason why we have only had two parties. We've only had two teams, the red and the blue. There's a reason why they continually play the racist card, black and white. It's dichotomy, that dichotomy that leads to dichotomous thinking in low level. Well, this is even driving us lower here, but most Americans are walking the low road, no matter what they think of themselves, because they've not ever done any work on their own self to lift them higher. They don't understand how indoctrinated they are. They don't understand how inculcated they are in American myths, like Doctor Knows Best. There's a whole lot of them. They do not understand that their thinking has been shaped, and they no longer think for themselves. They allow these people to think for them. They feel absolutely fine that opinion now carries the day on mainstream media. And I posted a video on how mainstream media today differs from what it was decades ago. And yes, there's always been problems with every profession. The mainstream media now is solely a propaganda tool for government officials to transform our society from what was once the beacon of freedom to the world. Well, Americans, are you recognizing the same country? Because I sure am not. I live in a foreign country. And the transformation has already taken place. Now it's just really, hammering itself in. So this should alert everyone. Okay. It should please alert all of you Trump supporters. Be very aware of your surroundings now. It's the Hunger Games. It's the elite using a useful idiot, this guy, to call for the killing of Trump supporters. This is what this guy is calling for. Eradication means you're gone. What does that mean? It means you're dead. You're gone. Out of here. This should be taken very seriously. Americans get that Twitter doesn't pull this down. And Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Google, they are Facebook. They're all operating the same way. Now, we had a congressional hearing just a couple of days ago about Google, and we heard a congresswoman claim that there is no censorship, and the left, making fun of all who claim that the left have taken over the media, and she claims no, or she's an idiot, or she's scripted to say that. But if you can't see that the left, and I'm not talking about Democrat, I was a Democrat. I'm now out of the matrix. Out. I didn't leave the Democrat Party to jump into the Republican Party. I'm not on any team. I've done the work necessary to lift those labels off me, because those labels that we put on ourselves are so limiting, not only to our own self. We limit ourselves when we label ourselves something, but we get an awful lot of people to limit us as well. They stick us in a category, and they shape us by what their filtered thinking is of a Democrat or a Christian or a Republican or a conservative, liberal, whatever, gay, straight. Nuance. This guy is calling for the eradication of nuance. Now, most don't understand nuance. It's very important to understand nuance. Difference, shades of gray. That when people do label themselves as such, I don't put them in categories. The label doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is how you define your own self by how you behave in the world. The demonstration of how you define yourself is what you do every day, not what you say, not the label. How you conduct yourself in the day, what your interests are, which are visible to the world. You don't have to speak them. Watch people. And what they do is what they're interested in. So, nuance, wow. All right, so when I'm sarcastic, there have been people who have not recognized my sarcasm. So they misinterpret what I'm saying. Well, nuance comes from tone of speech. Nuance comes from body language, facial expression. That's why I can't stand the cyber world, because in real life, communication is full. It's not just from what people speak. And it's one of the reasons why I like it when I see people post videos and you can see them. Now, I post less and less of that. I've been wanting to get back to that. But I have only because, not because I like doing it, I don't. And frankly, I just look like crap lately, so I'm kind of glad I'm stuck not being able to do it. But you get to see facial expression and body language if the person is actually, showing some of their body. But that's the full communication that one needs in order to understand the individual who is communicating. And that, the body language, the facial expression, the tone, when you become aware of the person communicating, not just listening to what they're saying, but hearing the tone and seeing the body language and seeing the facial expression, you can tell whether or not they're being sincere. And, sometimes you can tell if they're lying. It's absolutely necessary. But nuance, to have a mainstream media host call for, let's get rid of nuance. We no longer have room for that. This guy is saying anyone who supports Trump, you don't have to listen to them. You don't have to know anything about them. You don't have to know that they may have not the kind of ideas that you associate with a Republican or a Trump supporter. And the idea of the Trump supporter is that they're racist scourge. That's all you have to know based on what this guy is saying. And, he's not telling you to do your thinking for yourself. He's telling you that this is the way it is, and you don't have to think for yourself. And anyone who's a Trump supporter, you need to eradicate them, kill them. This is how low we are now. It is the Hunger Games. It's like the elite. Every single time a left or a right, take violence against one or the other, the elite enjoy this. They enjoy the violence that they promote, they encourage, they want. It's sad to see that we are here, but it's just reflecting this time that now, on a daily basis, we're seeing how dangerous a time we live. Nuance is so important to understand one another. This guy doesn't want anybody understanding anyone. He just wants the left to kill the right. There's no other way of interpreting what this guy is saying. He claims that Kellyanne Conway is the depraved evil we need to eradicate. Okay, we are living in an unprecedented time. Trump supporters, those of you who think I hate Trump and I hate Trump supporters, look, you're not understanding nuance, and you have beliefs and these presumptions about me that your thinking is very low, and you need to do the work necessary to become aware of the fact that a belief is not the truth. A belief is simply a belief that you have. That's fine. Go ahead, have it. But when you start thinking it's fact, when you start thinking it's the truth, that's where you get into trouble with other people. A belief is simply a belief. But there's a whole lot of people who are adamant about holding on to their beliefs, and if you say anything that goes against their belief, then boom, they attack you. So it's not just the left who's doing the attacking. Now, I've gotten attacked by Trump supporters because I have presented evidence that he's no different from the last guy. I have a playlist, Trump, on my Never Lose Truth channel, showing evidence. It's not my opinion, it's evidence. It doesn't matter what this guy says, just like it didn't matter what Obama said. It does not matter. You have to watch what is being done. And it's not just about watching what Trump is doing, rather than listening to what he's saying, but watching what is done in our country. The agendas have not stopped. They've accelerated. Listen also to what Trump says. See, the escalation of this quote-unquote hate has been extraordinary during the Trump years. Now, Obama played the race card. We understand that. So is Trump. But if you understand nuance, you would get that Trump has a different way of playing it than Obama did. But if you don't understand nuance, and you've got those beliefs that have shut off your critical thinking, then you won't hear and see Trump promoting and encouraging hate. You know, the example that comes to mind, that congresswoman from Somalia who was talking about the hypocrisy of Americans. She was absolutely right in what she said. What she said. We are held out, or have held ourselves out as if we were the beacon of freedom in the world. That we are morally superior, exceptional people. And I'm not, look, this racist thing, I'm not talking about white Americans. I'm talking about every American citizen. And that is the full range of races, nationalities, ethnicities. That's what made this country great, actually. Unfortunately, there's so many that just don't respect difference. You know, they believe this nation is a white nation or this nation is a Christian nation, and it's not. But, all right, fine. I love difference. I've always, you know, I don't know why. I need it in my life. And the thought of, well, I've already lived in neighborhoods with all people like me. And you know what? It was boring as shit. So, but, you know, we've been socially engineered to not delve into reality by doing research and learning from our own experience. So many Americans they watch mainstream media and they believe the horse shit that they're told. They don't understand mainstream media, and they won't listen to us. That mainstream media is no longer, it is simply a propaganda tool for those in our government who are transforming our country that used to be free. Well, we had, you know, some freedom. We're not living what we were living even just a few decades ago. They are transforming this country into a communist hell space. You know, our reference point of communism only comes from, you know, the textbooks or, you know, the magazine articles that we read. China, Soviet Union. We're looking at a communism that is so sick and depraved and so dark, especially with the technology that we have now. It's the unimaginable communism that we have no reference point, to even consider what is coming. I will tell you this, every American just a few decades ago would never have thought that we could live this with a CNN host tweeting this. And then the obvious, Twitter not taking this down. When I get punished from Big Daddy YouTube for 2 weeks, can't post on Never Lose Truth because I linked to a Drudge piece. A link. That's all it took, a link. We've heard no more hatred. Hate cannot be tolerated. We need to eradicate it. This guy's calling for killing Trump supporters. And that's fine. All right, so that you don't even have to have any understanding of nuance. That's in your face, blatant. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of Americans who are so easily manipulated, and dichotomous thinking helps them to manipulate people. When you have, it's got to be one way or the other thinking, that's not thinking. It's low level thinking. When it's got to be one way or the other, then if it's not going your way, that's it. There's no other thinking. Get rid of the people who are working against you getting it going your way. Oh God, there's so much to say, but we are so screwed. Really, Trump supporters, you've got to increase your awareness of your own behavior and your surroundings now. And Trump fueled the fire. And I'm sorry I forgot to say, about that congresswoman who during the speech was talking about, this, the hypocrisy of this country. Well, she was absolutely right. But what does Trump come out and say? She hates this country. Hates this country. No nuance. Someone says something you don't like, it's hate. They're a hater. Trump has encouraged that. Get rid of her. Leave the country. She hates Jews. She hates Israel. She hates this country, so leave this country. Don't try to understand what she's saying. Just fire off your hate. Trump has helped you get into the Trump camp. So, look, I do want to play just a few minutes of this video, but I hope that you click on the link below and listen to what this guy is saying. And he's talking about Marx, Karl Marx. He's talking about socialism, bringing in communism. And what we are living is what this guy is talking about.
Against the oppressors, within every facet of social classes. He also talked about how, since he proposed this whole concept of the evolution of civilization. He talked about the five stages of civilization. Primitive communism, the agrarian society, capitalism, socialism, and communism. Socialism and communism not existing at that time, and capitalism being a very new thing that was coming around with the industrial revolution. Socialism, as we can understand it, is basically the system used to, say, organize society to achieve the goals of communism. Communism is the envisioned goal that it would achieve. But he said, since we can never understand, since we can't imagine what the future will look like, we can't say what communism is. And so you don't need to discuss it. You don't need to debate it. You don't need to, bring it up. You don't need to try to justify it. that in order to see what it looks like, we first need to destroy all pre-existing institutions. We need to wipe everything out, and then we'll see what it looks like. Socialism also, because of that theory, took many different forms, many of which were in conflict with each other. And so you have a lot of socialists who have different ideas on how to reorganize society, how to seize the means of production, how to seize wealth from people, seize the basic freedoms of individuals, and to use that consolidated power to destroy morality, traditions, beliefs, social structures, you name it, right? Communism isn't just an economic theory. It says very clearly, it's in the Communist Manifesto, communism destroys all religion and all morality. It is about destroying all previously existing institutions. And so Marx made it so debate, logical debate, was no longer part of communism. And in fact, you should not engage in logical debate because people who represent these ideas are the part of the bourgeois class to be destroyed. And there are many revisions of that same theory. The Frankfurt School had, what is it called? This whole idea that, what do they call it? Repressive tolerance. That's what it was, right? Repressive tolerance.
Doesn't sound like a real thing to me.
No, it wasn't. So the Frankfurt School came up with this theory that basically you should tolerate. The left can be tolerant, and you can talk about tolerance, but you should not tolerate things that challenge the move towards the goals of communism, because they are, it's the ends justify the means. You don't need to tolerate people who stand against what we're trying to accomplish, and so you label all them fascists or whatever. You don't need to talk with them. You also had Lenin's concept of partisanship, the idea that society should only be divided into two extremes, right? And that you need to choose one side or the other, and there can be no middle ground. And even in the basic ideas of communism, which we could say would be dialectical materialism, there are two different theories. One, Marx took from the Hegelian dialectic the idea that conflict leads forward. In other words, if you believe that society is evolving towards communism, how do you speed up evolution if you're an atheist system? Well, social Darwinism, survival of the fittest. You increase antagonisms. You increase the conflict between different groups of society. You want them to fight each other. You don't want them to talk and debate and get along like you would with traditional dialectics, like the Socratic dialectic. You want people to fight. You want them to compete. You want them to struggle, because that is what creates the struggle, right? The survival of the fittest that advances society towards the goals of communism.
And that's exactly what we are living. This is a useful idiot. A useful idiot that is wanting and calling for no debate, no more nuance. Any Trump supporter, go for them. Kill them. That's what this flyer is all about. No more debate. Because Trump supporters, they're not racist. They're not scourge. They're not the deplorables. They're not. They simply want this country as it was really prior to 9/11/2001. That's what they want. They're ordinary Americans who believe in the Constitution, believe in the rule of law. No, it's not about keeping brown people out. If that were the case, we would still be living what we were living prior to the 60s. The civil rights movement. They are simply people who want the rational, reasonable, the common sense, but they're not good anymore. Why? Because they do not advance the goals of communism. Get rid of them. We're at a late stage. I'd say we're at the final stage. If Americans can't see it now, they will continue to allow themselves to be manipulated. And because they can't think straight, clearly, common sense, critical thinking, they won't do the research to find out what really is behind all of this, they will become against all of us. It's really, it's easy to believe that we've got these leaders and we've got these people in positions of power and influence, the actors and famous people in Hollywood, and promoting this because they are doing it deliberately. That's easy for me to get. Okay, there's something so sick and twisted about these people, but they're unreachable. It's the ordinary American that you have hope to reach, and telling them this is all deliberate to bring in a radically different country than what you are used to, and to enslave you and destroy all good, destroy morality. That's why in the early 80s, suddenly moral relativism, started to take root. The New Age philosophy. And at the same time, the field of psychology and psychiatry. The radical changes from understanding that mental illness was a product of your past. It was the goal of psychology. You suddenly saw people in that field undermine their own principles of that field, which was, the psychotherapist's job was, as a facilitator, to help their client understand the connection between their past and their present. They're anxious in the present. They have symptoms of neuroses or depression. To understand the connection, it was resolving those issues from early childhood. This was understood. This was not anything to just attack someone for saying. But suddenly the radical change in both of those fields, psychology and psychiatry, it went biology. Forget about the past. Mental illness is a product of a chemical disorder in the brain. A chemical imbalance, a theory discredited, but with Americans, you can just lie, and you keep repeating that lie, and you get mainstream media repeating that lie, and eventually they believe it. So to counter that belief means that they have to do some work to get out of their, that comfortability that confirmation bias provides. Now, they've got to have that open mind to do the research and find out, wait a second, the chemical imbalance, that was discredited, and how did they even know that you have a chemical imbalance? They would have to do tests on every individual brain to determine if they have a chemical imbalance. Now, the drugs cause a chemical imbalance. When you hear, Prozac is the miracle cure, and it's cured nothing, and now we have mental illness skyrocketing at the same time. We have these psychiatric medications being doled out. The correlation is near exact, but no, they stopped thinking. We need people thinking to fight what we are living. How do you get them to start thinking again? It means that they would have to do the work necessary on their own self that so many people don't feel that they need to do because they are just so well adjusted to this deeply disturbed society. Well, you're well adjusted then to this, what you're looking at right here. Killing Trump supporters who just want to live their life peacefully who want the insanity that we are living, just please take it away. And they want what is good and moral. But there are those people, and I'm not talking about these people because these people are paid to do and say what they do and say. Antifa is paid to say and do what they say and do. To attack, no debate, right? Bring in socialism, which is AKA communism. No more debate. No more nuance. No more thinking. Just hit them with these one-word slams or insults, or degrade them, calling them a racist. This is what is going to really ramp up now. It does not surprise me that it's coming during the Trump administration, based on Trump's speech. Think about it. This guy comes in, and what he's telling you is that we don't want any more hate in this country. Then why does he use that word so much? Why does he immediately claim someone is a hater instead of trying to understand what they're saying? It's all deliberate. And unless we do the work necessary to pull ourselves from the matrix, then there's no possible way of getting real clarity on what is taking place here. Anyway, I'll link below. This is a very good video. Listen to what this guy has to say carefully. You will see what he is saying is what we are living.